Go back to our reporter Aviwe Mtila, who earlier on was speaking to family members who now have the arduous process of having to identify bodies that were burned beyond recognition in the Johannesburg fire at last Thursday. Now, meanwhile, some survivors wait outside the building, outside the Albert Street building, hoping to salvage their belongings. There's also a fear of deportation, and thus they are out in the street. Aviwe Mtila, good afternoon to you again, and thank you so much for joining us. I think earlier we touched on that, the real reality or fear of some of those who may be legitimately in the country but had lost their travel documents and therefore cannot or would not be able to immediately prove that they are legitimately in the country and stand to be deported possibly.
Cindy, some of the fears, of course, from these at least hundreds of Malawians that are behind me as they refuse to go to the various shelters that have been provided. Of course, we do know now that 7 Malawians have been successfully identified, didn't need any DNA, could still be visibly identified without those official DNAs. But also the active crime scene now has some sort of movement. We are told by the police that the engineers have now officially handed over to the police. So the scene itself and the building belongs to the South African police to comb through. Just in this regard, I am joined by the Provincial Commissioner, General Elias Mawela. General, thank you for joining us at eNCA. Maybe tell us when you got the scene itself and what will you be combing through now?
Yeah, actually, officially we got it this morning. Yesterday it was just partially, but this morning officially we also have a letter to say that we can continue. But what we have there currently is the fire experts who must go and check inch by inch what may be the cause of the fire. We also have some forensic experts, crime scene management team from our police headquarters who are also working with them to can collect each and every evidence. It will take us some time. My estimation, plus minus 3 weeks, will still be there working in that particular building. And we also have a team which is also supporting the pathologists in Deep Proof government mortuary. And they are also working hand in hand with them while they're doing the postmortem and so forth. But what also pleases us is the response which we are getting from different embassies. They've also responded positively to can work with us so that they can support their citizens and so forth. So with that in our disposal, we'll be able to can seamlessly do our work.
Okay, General, will you possibly looking for more deceased? We know that 76 people perished in that fire. Will you now be also looking for possibly more? And maybe these people said that one of the reasons they don't want to go to the shelter is that they want to go inside the building and get their belongings. Will that also be possible?
But firstly, let me convey our sincere condolences to the families of the departed one and wish those who are still in hospital a speedy recovery. Surely, according to the disaster management emergency services who were sweeping the area, there's no more bodies in that particular space. And valuable items, I'm not sure. Maybe some of the valuable items may still be there. But what I can encourage the people here who still believe that some of the available items may still be in that building, I want to discourage them from going there or asking to go into that building. Because what the police is they are going to do, they are going to remove each and everything as exhibit and lost and found property, take them to Johannesburg Central. So anyone who wants to come and identify his or her property, they will have to do it at Johannesburg Central Police Station. But this, it won't happen today, it won't happen tomorrow. Let them give us time. After 2 or 3 weeks, they can go to Johannesburg Central to can go and identify their properties.
General, hijacked buildings are a problem in Johannesburg, but let's zoom into this particular one. How is it that these people are tenants, they're paying money to landlords, yet the police can't crack the whip on a hijacked building that they are aware of?
Yeah, firstly, this kind of a problem is not only in Johannesburg. I'll come back to your question. You know, we do have a lot of ownerless building, derelict, abandoned, bad state building in Gauteng. I'll start with Tshwane. In Tshwane, there is a building called Mahala. That building called Mahala It's so bad because there we even have elderly people staying there, disabled people, the addicts, and that building is just opposite. It's just opposite Pretoria Academic Hospital. I'm told that that building previously it was used as a nursing home. That building, it is in a bad state. You go to Rosettenville, there are so many of these kind of buildings.
And why aren't you doing anything about them, General? These people are paying to landlords. Surely you can trace who these landlords are, if anything.
Yeah, you must remember, we the police, when we do the raiding in those buildings, we look at pure criminality there. We go, we raid for illegal items, guns, ammunition. We look for, drugs. And we look for maybe undocumented person. So the people who are staying there, some of them, they are South Africans, they are legit in the country. They are mere staying there. It doesn't contribute to crime. But the issue is that if they are paying rental to somebody else, it's a matter between them and that particular person whom they are paying to. As to the owner of the building, must be the one who must come forward to say that, you know what, so and so, they have, whether in a fraudulent manner or forcibly taken the building out of my control, and they open the case against that particular individual. That's where the police, they can now start acting against those who are collecting rent. But for now, we don't have anyone who have come forward. And again, you must understand that the owners of maintenance of the building, it also remains the responsibility of the owner of the building. If the owner wants to remove these people from the building, again, they know the laws of the land. How do they go about to remove those people who are occupying that building illegal?
All right. Thank you, General. And we know that building was owned by the city of Johannesburg. But it seems there's movement. Remember, the biggest issue for the many people, hundreds of Malawians that were on the ground, was the issue of transportation. It seemingly seems now that it's being sorted, with them getting at the back of the trucks. And we would assume that they'll now be heading to the burials. Let me ask, I see a lady from Kopanang, Africa. Yeah, what's happening here now?
They're going to identify. They're going to declare. More people are going to identify.
More people are going to identify more bodies.
Yes.
Okay.
So what they're doing is they're going in. As you can see, they are living in Baki loads just to go and identify. They're just in solidarity so that they do the right thing. Because remember, most of them are Muslims, and we need to bury them as soon as possible.
Oh, okay.
According to Muslim rights. Yeah.
And what's happening? Remember, I understand there's 7 that have been positively identified.
Yes.
Will they be also laid to rest today?
I'm not yet sure what is happening, but Ali did mention that they will be buried, because remember, we've got the Muslim community that's also rallying with us so that we can get them buried, because really it's Islamically speaking, we can't keep the body for a very long time. It's days already.
Okay, yeah. But these trucks are heading now to the Deep Kloof mortuary,
yes.
where they'll go then identify, hopefully successfully, some of those remains. Cindy, just the latest on the streets here, as we'll be keeping track also of what's happening. We'll follow the trucks now just to go with them to the Deep Kloof mortuary, see if the Malawian community will identify more of their loved ones that lost their life in those fires. Currently, we know of 7 that they've positively identified from yesterday, 5 of them coming from one family. Cindy.
Thank you so much. That's eNCA reporter Aviwe Mtila out in the Johannesburg CBD, where that tragic fire took place. And now family is having to go through the process of identifying the remains of their loved ones.